Good day. So, you want to be smarter? You want your kids to be smarter? Maybe play the violin better? Let's talk about that. So, we're talking here about radical enhancements of the human being via technological breakthroughs like advanced AI, robotics, nanotechnology, tissue engineering, and so on. So we already have machines that are smarter than us, than human beings, or more capable in terms of processing speed, for example, in terms of the quantity of material that can be processed. I mean, this morning I balanced my checkbook and my calculator processed numbers, added numbers up much faster than I can with my brain. But the question is, and the reason we're talking about not only smarter but more moral, the question is, does being smarter make us wiser? And the answer, I think, is clearly no. And so there was a very important book written several years ago by a couple of ethicists called Unfit for the Future. Unfit for the Future, the Need for Moral Enhancement, to Oxford University. And the authors were saying that all of these enhancements that we're talking about in these videos, super longevity and becoming smarter and impacting our moods, that we are, getting way beyond our moral capacity to handle these technologies, and so we need moral enhancement. Now, we already know, and we're very early in this process, but we already know serotonin is linked to aggression, Ritalin reduces aggressive motive impulses, oxytocin enhances trust. So you might say, well, why not just put this stuff in the water, right? And we can have a more peaceful society, more trusting society. But do you want your soldiers to be more trusting? Do you want your police officers? Do you want an abused spouse to be more trusting of their abuser, right? So this is a complicated question. And if you're talking about moral enhancement, who gets to decide what's moral? That is not a simple question. It may seem on the surface to be simple, but it's quite not. So how do ethicists and how do people who have been working on this for years think about these kinds of things? One way to think about these enhancements is therapy versus enhancement. Okay, so a pacemaker, well, I'm going back to a physical example, but it'll work. A pacemaker needed to regulate somebody's heart rate. Is that therapy bringing us back to normal, or is that enhancement? It's therapeutic in that it keeps the person alive, but it is also arguably an enhancing medical intervention in that it prolongs life, maybe beyond what would be the normal or natural state. So history shows us, whether we're talking about physical enhancements, moral enhancements, affective enhancements, cognitive enhancements, that new medical interventions or technological adjuncts, like a calculator, for example, are initially seen as unnatural or enhancing, or depending upon the particular bodily adjustment, shocking or even repugnant, but they become over time accepted, desired, and even viewed as normal. So as recent as my dad's early days, and a pacemaker, first inserted in 1958, was a radical technological extension of life, inserting metal and battery and sensor into one's chest. And for all of human history until about the middle of last century, electronic medical implants didn't exist, but the very concept would have been radical. But now pacemakers are pretty, I think, routine. And so, I'm tone deaf. I have relative insensitivity to changes in musical pitch. So thinking of smartness in terms of artistic ability, right? What if there were some genetic manipulation that could help me be not tone deaf? Would that be bringing me back to normal? Would that be an enhancement beyond what is normal for me? So my co-author on the book, where I'm drawing most of these videos, is an ethicist, a Christian ethicist, and she her background is expert in sport enhancement and the ethics around that. So just listen to a couple of the titles and you'll get a sense of what she works on. So one title is Winning the Race: Religion, Hope, and Reshaping the Sport Enhancement Debate. And here's another title: Spirituality, Sport, and Doping, More Than Just a Game. So she came into this whole discussion of radical human technological development from sports enhancement, where a lot of this stuff has been tried out, and you can see this on the Special Olympics, for example. So the whole issue of therapy versus enhancement is complicated. I mean, eyeglasses, are they therapy or are they enhancement? So is 20/20 vision normal? But if so, for whom? I mean, take Major League Baseball players. They average better than 20/20 vision. And so their normal then of a Major League Baseball player is better vision than the general population. So is that therapeutic or enhancement for Major League Baseball players to have laser eye surgery that brings their vision up to the average of Major League Baseball players, right? So general population, since vision begins to deteriorate about age 50, our eyeglasses and laser surgery, is that, both of which bring 20/20 vision, is that enhancement or is it therapy, bringing us back to normal? So you can see here the complications. There are all kinds of religious implications here. I think the concept out of the Christian tradition, with a background in Judaism, of transformational resurrection is a concept that kind of allows this particular religious tradition to engage in conversation about these enhancements as being a means of God's grace in the world, that God can work through the human co-creator to tend the garden, to serve humanity, to do good, to relieve suffering, and so on. So there are all kinds of religious questions, and I always want to put in here that the billionaire class is very engaged in this. Once the billionaire class sniffs that their children can be smarter, can play the violin better, then the money floodgates are going to open, and they are opening. Silicon Valley is very engaged in this. There are all kinds of safety issues. Here's another ethical conversation that scholars are having about some of these more radical enhancements. Here's the concept. Proactionary medicine would be the idea that we need to be proactive. We need to move aggressively on these enhancements because we can relieve a lot of suffering, right? Would you prefer your doctor to have seen a few hundred people with your disease, or would you prefer a doctor who has seen trillions, an AI-enhanced robot doctor who has seen trillions of cases and digested all the relevant literature and research? So the proactionary argument is that these various developments can relieve suffering, can enhance the quality of life, planetarily can, predict floods better, maybe even solve global climate change. But that is opposed by the precautionary argument. And the precautionary argument, ethical argument, is that We don't need to go forward until we can work out all the kinks, we understand all the side effects, we need to go slow, we don't need to hurt people in experiments, and so on. And so you can figure out where you're at on this proactionary, precautionary. So whether we're talking about being smarter, being more moral, physical enhancements, affective or emotional enhancements, all of these sort of enhancements raise these various ethical and sometimes theological issues. I discuss this in the book in more detail, and I thank you for your time and your attention to these very, very important issues. Good day.